So Venba just hit Xbox Game Pass today. Check the pinned comment. It's going to be a lot shorter than the video. Probably more fleshed out. Unlike the writing in Venba, which disappointingly for me drags this game down. I mean, so far down. I'm getting ahead of myself, but there's going to be a lot of spoilers. I'm actually going to play through some of Venba quite a bit, since it's such a short game, is my guess, now that I've played about 45 minutes or an hour. It seems to maybe only take a couple hours to beat the game, I'd guess. There's nothing wrong with the grammar, the writing, the syntax, punctuation, things like that. That style of writing. But these characters and the dialogues and the situations and the choices they make are so poorly conceived. I want to explore that while taking you through the game as it unfolds and as I experienced it. So with that being said, hats off to the team who created Venba. You could give me 3 lifetimes. I couldn't create anything like this. And it's hard to say, why the game is dragged down by the writing without just showing you the game. So let me start. I'll show you. I've already basically I was at the end of chapter 3 when I stopped, and I couldn't take anymore, and I decided I'm going to do a My Thoughts video, and this is going to be very long, I know, but let me just start with a new game, and we'll take it in chunks. I'll read through some of the dialogue and make observations. So each chapter of the game seems to represent a year in the life of Venba, who is the female protagonist, and her family. And we start in 1988, and here we find Venba, who we basically are playing as, appearing to be sleeping on a couch that is tattered with tears in it, while her husband, I was assuming, is making some sort of racket, unnecessarily probably, while he's cleaning, I guess. I assume he's mopping or vacuuming or something. It's hidden behind the couch. It's probably for the best, because I don't want to think what else he could be doing back there. But so leaving already. Oh, sorry. Did I wake you? What time is it? 8. How are you feeling? Tired or nauseous? It was so predictable. That's one of the problems with the writing. It really was so predictable. When I started this game and realized she's sleeping on a couch and he's saying it's 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, oh God, she's pregnant. And this just confirmed that, just like yesterday. So it's like, okay, here we go. And that's okay, but it just foreshadows how predictable the game is going to be and how it's going to continue to snowball and in this predictability. And let's continue. Okay, I'll call your school and say you can't come in today. I was just about to leave for work. You should go back to sleep. What about your lunch? There's some leftover idli, I believe that'd be pronounced, batter, and garlic chutney from yesterday. You can steam some idli quickly. I don't know if I can figure all that out. It's okay, I was just about to leave. It's just idli. Very easy. It'll take me too long, Venba. Don't worry. I can just survive on the coffee machine. Okay, I'm going to stop here, because this trope, even though this is supposed to be 1990 I'm sorry, 1988, is just so tired. I mean, the man who passively aggressively has to wake his wife up on the couch, who's sick and trying to recover by sleeping in, who appears to have left the bedroom and slept on the couch so as not to disturb him since she's having such a horrible night. He's got to come out here and make noise right before he's leaving for work when he could have just left for work and survived on the coffee machine. It's just so pathetically written, right? Am I wrong here? I mean, the coffee machine's the only option he really has. Either she gets up, sick as she is now, and makes him food he can take to work for lunch, or he can only get something from a coffee machine. It makes no sense, the writing here. Let's just quickly think, what could we have done better? Well, how about we have her on the couch without the blanket? And rather than him cleaning or whatever he was doing to make noise, how about he comes out, finds her asleep on the couch as he's getting ready to go to work. He covers her with the blanket and says, as she wakes up, "I'm sorry, I didn't want to wake you. I saw you had moved to the couch. You must still be feeling sick. Go back to bed. Don't worry about me. I'm on my way to work. You know, are you okay? I hope you feel better." And then she could ask him, I didn't pack you anything for lunch. I always do. Let me get up and get you something for lunch. And then, there are characters that I can start to sympathize and empathize and care about. Already these characters, I don't particularly like him. And it gets worse. It just keeps getting worse. So he seems to be passive aggressive in his actions here. It's like, and she seems to know this. So you would think, okay, well, Venba's going to be the one I can sympathize with in this game. But that's not true, because the game gives us two options. We can say, okay, go to work, get something out of the vending machine, because there's no other option. There's no place no fast food restaurants in this area in 1988. There's no convenience stores in the area that you could go to. There's nothing you could possibly do except either make me cook your food, like you're incapable of doing it yourself. So either I get up and make you food you can take with you, or you can only go to this vending machine that serves coffee. So the game gives us the option to tell him, go do that, or fine, I'll get up and make it. Well, of course, I'm going to say, I'm sick. Screw you, buddy. You woke me up for no good reason. Go suffer. Go eat, out of a coffee vending machine. The game doesn't let us do that. The game tells us, no, it's okay. It's like, don't give me a false option there. That to me is some of the poorest writing I've seen in this game in total. In the part I played, that's some of the most frustrating. But as I was saying before, the writing for me just keeps getting worse with these characters and dialogue and choices. And let's continue. Venba, really, it's fine. Well, if it's really fine, just leave. Just go and let her feel better. No. I need to make lunch for myself anyway. Just tell the school I'll be done in a minute. Okay. So he's getting his way, and she's being a martyr. So now I'm not really liking her much either. And again, this for me is the writing. This is the writers. So now we've finished like a prologue, and now we're going to start Venba, the game and story. Okay, let's get this done fast. Although, Should I try my mother's recipe for once? The way I make idli are never as soft as hers, and they would always cheer me up when I'm feeling sick. I should just make them her way today. If the recipe is still readable, that is. And here we proceed to the first of the mini trial and error cooking puzzles that seem to happen at the end of each chapter. And over here in the recipe book, it shows us how we're supposed to prepare it. It blurs out a little bit of it. And this one was kind of easy. I figured it out, did it perfect the first time. I have not made idli with these kind of plates before. The only difference for mine seems to be the holes in the plates. The recipe also calls for towels. I'm not sure why, but Amma swears this method makes the idli a lot softer. It doesn't seem to be rocket science. If she's familiar with the cuisine, with cooking, and I'm probably mispronouncing this, but I'm going to continue to pronounce it wrong then. But if she's making idli on her own, then why does she have the towels already cut, ready for this? It just doesn't make sense here. But it wasn't too hard to figure out that we should be putting the food on these with the towels first, and we would need to turn to vent each batch. Although my controller doesn't, and I don't think it has to be near perfect. I think the game might be forgiving because I think I did maybe a little bit worse and still got it perfect. And I don't know if you put water first or last, but I just put it on at the end last time. And like that, and this got me the perfect achievement for making a dish without any errors. I think for achievement hunters, maybe I should have started with this. I think for achievement hunters that you should wait for a guide or a walkthrough, playthrough, something, because there are definitely going to be missable achievements. And since there's no option to skip dialogue, unless that becomes available, even though there's a chapter select, yeah, it's going to be too frustrating to go back. So that should be long enough. Let's remove the lid and see how it turned out. Okay, it's done. So we've made lunch for our husband and ourself, and we even put nice little smiley faces on to represent the two of us. Oh wow, you even took the time to make our faces. I think you forgot about my beard though. It's like, you ungrateful jackass. I'm sorry. Even she looks like she's ready to slap him for that one. You really didn't have to do this. Well, yes, she did, because you woke her up intentionally so she would. I mean, so passive aggressive. What else could I do? My husband can't figure out idli. It's like, no doubt, lady, it's 1988. You know what? I'm sorry. I was very much alive in 1988, and we had microwaves. He could have nuked it. I mean, she had leftovers. He could have gotten a frozen meal. There's nothing in the refrigerator he could have took and nibbled on while he's at work. This is the only option. The writing makes no sense here. But this is just foreshadowing how it's going to continue to make these horrible decisions for these characters and put them in positions they would seemingly never choose for themselves. Venba, I told you to go to sleep. Oh, so now you're the commanding, domineering husband who, when he tells his wife to do something, even if it's against her wishes, or even if it's for her to be nice to him, she's supposed to listen and obey. The tropes. You've been feeling sick and exhausted. You didn't have to cook. Now you're chastising your wife for showing you generosity and kindness that she shouldn't have done. And I told her not to do. It's not a big deal if I skip lunch once. I believe it's Pavlon. You're making me choose between resting and letting you starve. That's not a fair choice to me. You're not letting me starve. I know, but that's what it feels like. And even if I had let you leave, either I couldn't sleep peacefully or what will I do for lunch? She's unsympathetic now. The writers have put her into this. She's too doting of a housewife. She's not just feeding his body, she's feeding his dependency on her. It's a lunch. This isn't like he's gonna miss a week's worth of food here. It's one lunch. They're making a freaking mountain out of a molehill in this story. It doesn't hold up to any scrutiny. I'd feel too guilty. I know I shouldn't, but you know I would. Is it so hard for you to cook even on days like this? You're right. Sorry. There's no sympathy here. His apology isn't genuine in this dialogue. The whole dialogue is so contrived. It's so played. It's tiring. And someone may think, well, it's 1988. This is how... No. You know, I'm sure there's people in 2023 who have this kind of dynamic in the household. Time frame doesn't matter. It's the people that matter. And these people are unsympathetic at this point, but it gets so much worse. Did you look for tickets back home? Yes, it's expensive, but we can manage it. So do you think we should go? I don't know. Let me ask the boss again if he can make me full time. Let's just pause a minute. The guy's going to a part-time job and he was going to miss a lunch. He's leaving at 8 a.m. How long does he work at a part-time job that he needed a lunch for him and he couldn't wait till he got home? I mean, how can this story hold up to any scrutiny when you scratch the surface and it's all so contrived and so ridiculous? It's not realistic. And let's continue. But unless the school gives you more shifts, she's part-time too. We've got 2 part-timers here. It's like, now you can tell they're struggling financially. That's why they have a ratty old couch. It's why he can't afford to go out and get anything except out of a coffee vending machine if she doesn't make something for him. But it still doesn't explain why he couldn't have grabbed something out of the refrigerator. But now they're failing miserably, and unless his boss changes their mind, they can't stay in Canada. So they're from India. They've relocated to Canada. And they're failing miserably. All they have are a part-time job apiece. You know there are other options. What other options? They have no other options. If they had other options, you think they would have been exploring them by now. I mean, what's the other option? Suicide? Moving to a third country? I wouldn't mind going back. I'm sure I can teach again at my old job. And there's nothing really keeping us here. Now we can finally agree on something. That would be nice. Oh, so he would like her to go back, get her old job, start teaching again. Is it because they would have more money and he wouldn't have to work? At a part-time job even? I'm so in dismay at how this story is unfolding. And to me, the only logical decision now is they need to leave Canada, go back to India, and that's where the game starts, and we start to explore Indian culture there. But I'm like, no, this game isn't about relocating back to India. It can't be. It has to be them staying in Canada. But that makes no sense because the story has put them in a position where failure is the only option. Okay, well, why don't you leave with me now? I'll walk you to the doctor's office before I go. Oh no, I'm sure all I need is some sleep. You've been saying that for 2 days now. Come on, I'll walk you. Doctors are free here. What? You'd only take your wife who's sick to a doctor who's free? And here, this was so predictable that she'd come back from the doctor's office and all of a sudden everything was going to be rosy for her. I mean, really? She's got to do her hair real pretty and put on her makeup. She's got to get dressed up and put on some bangles or bracelets. And now she's going to make the same dinner. And it's like, oh, okay, so now she'll make him, her, and the kid. Now she's become the passive-aggressive one. He comes home. What did the doctor say? She can't answer him. She's got to be passive-aggressive and, hey, you see the secret message here? No, he doesn't see it. He's wearing glasses and he's blind. He's oblivious. And he started passive-aggressive. Now he's oblivious. She's turned into the passive-aggressive. You can just see she's going to be oblivious soon. So the boss didn't even consider it. Okay, Mr. I can only get one part-time job in all of this area of Canada. And if that job doesn't turn full-time, we have no other options. Has said that it's failed. And they need to move back to India. Unless a miracle happens, I say we start packing. What? What's with you? You never told me what the doctor said. Well, I think you should eat first. Okay? Italy again? You ungrateful bastard! Hit him! Smack that dude silly. I mean, Mr. I can't even frickin' heat up leftovers is going to complain about having the same meal twice in one day when he couldn't even cook for himself? He is gone as a character. I don't know how anyone could appreciate this guy on any level. Any level. And she's getting ready to follow him into oblivion as we progress. She smacks his hand because he doesn't notice her passive-aggressive designs. What has gotten into you today? Look, figure it out. It's just not good writing for me. Look, she still didn't put his beard on it. So now they do have a bed that she could have been sleeping in, but she left. I hope he didn't make her sleep on the couch. So I guess this means we have a reason to stay. What? You have a part-time job. You already are struggling financially. She has a part-time job, which she's going to have to give up sometime soon. You've been turned down. You had no other option. You were getting ready to go to India. Why do you have a reason to stay? This solidifies your leaving Canada. There's no reason to stay. There's less of a reason to stay. I mean, raising a child back home wouldn't be so bad either. Wouldn't be so bad. But there's a chance at a very different life here. No, what? Moving into a cardboard box and eating out of a dumpster? There's no different life that's going to be progressively better. You have no options. You failed. It's only going to get more expensive, though, and we're barely scraping by as it is. Well, that's pretty reasonable. That's logical. We can't provide everything other parents would be able to. What does that matter? If another kid gets a pony, do you have to run out and get your kid a pony? At one time he says something logical, and then he flips to something so stupid and banal, and just it continues, and I'm going to continue. What if they resent us for that when they grow up? Maybe moving back to India is the best option after all. But then they could resent us for taking away this opportunity. I mean, this guy is waffling. He's what? I don't know, bipolar? I mean, he's going from, we have to go back to India. It's the only right decision. But what if a fetus who has no idea where it is in the future finds out that we could have stayed in Canada and we were absolutely struggling, and we didn't. We went back to India where we could raise our child in moderate comfort and provide better. They'd resent us for that. I mean, this isn't a teenager they're talking about who's grown up in Canada, only knowing Canada, and then was taken back to India. The story is, it falls apart under the slightest bit of observation or scrutiny. What do you think, Venba? Why aren't you saying anything? Because now she's oblivious. So he was passive aggressive, then he turns oblivious, she turns passive aggressive, and now she's oblivious. I don't know. It's funny to see you worry like this. What's funny? You're getting ready to freaking have a kid who's going to be brought into this? Are you not worried? I don't know. I feel very calm for some reason. Are you schizophrenic, lady? What the hell? That makes one of us. Pavlin, don't worry. I'm sure they will turn out just fine. How can you be so sure? It's our child. If your child turns out like you two, that child's doomed. I mean, good God. Neither of you have a rocket tied to your ass. You're both part-timers in a foreign country who are struggling to make ends meet, who are welcoming an unexpected child. And when everything was pointing at you're going to go home, now you're going to stay. I mean, we can all foreshadow, or we can all predict where this is headed. Nothing's going to get better for these two, except they're going to have a child now. How else could they turn out? I don't know. How will they turn out when they're living on the frickin' streets? $1994. How can they not be outshone by their child? I mean, seriously. My name is Pavlin, sir. Pavlin, sir. And she's calling out for their child, Kevin, who is their son. Where did you run off to? Sir, it would be my privilege to work with you. Pardon me, sir? I don't have time to play, Kevin. I have a lot of work to do. Yes, sir. I've managed transport of hundreds of units of inventory per day. Pardon me, sir? Kevin, there you are. What are you wearing? Where's your shirt? It's a cape. Take that off. Let's get you dressed. No, I like it. That job was in India, sir, but... Kevin, wait there. Don't run. Kevin, come back here. This has become routine now. Yes, sir. Bachelor of Science in Physics, sir. I'm going to pause it here. There is so much going on here. At first, it seems like he kept saying, pardon me, sir, because the wife and the child are being obnoxious and making a lot of noise in the background, and he can't hear as he's trying to secure better employment. That isn't what's going on here. He claims he's moved 100 units of inventory, which sounds like supply chain background. Now he's claiming he has a bachelor's of science in physics. So he's a physicist who has supply chain experience in the workplace, but back in India. Again, not making much sense here, but this whole thing is going to go so much more sideways than I could have predicted. Although you know it's going to go sideways because of everything that's led up to this in the writing. So let's continue a few more moments and you'll see what I mean. Ayu, that towel is so dirty, da. Here, wear this shirt, Kana. No! But sir, you can just take me on a probation period, maybe. I'm driven, self-started, and a quick learner, sir. Put this on, Kana. Hurry up now. But I don't want to. But I don't want to. But I don't want to. Speak in Tamil, Kavin. I can't even understand what you're saying. She can't understand whatever language he's speaking that is prominent in Canada. Yet they moved here so she could get a part-time teaching job? It gets worse. You don't have to pay until then. Please, Kana. I understand, sir. Yes, good boy. Okay. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for considering me. Good day. Hello, Mr. Bachelor of Science. What happened? Same old. They didn't buy the hundreds of units of inventory story, or I'm telling you it's time for it to go. I chose this. That's not entirely untrue. I helped out in a grocery store when I was 12, and you were paid in candy. Ah, well, I've only worked as a writer back home. What? If I thought that nothing made sense before, this exponentially compounds that, right? This isn't nitpicking. This is like story development, character development 101, isn't it? If this guy really has, I'm starting to question if he has a bachelor's of physics, but if he does, and he was only a writer back home, what is he doing in Canada talking about, how he knows supply chains, and what has he been doing as a part-timer? It's like, if all you've done is right, what did you come to Canada to do? What did you think you were going to be successful at? It gets so much worse when we go just a couple. I don't even see myself getting a job for that here. Well, you haven't tried, have you? Not with my English. I spend half these calls asking to repeat themselves. I should watch cartoons with Kevin. If I can understand those shows, maybe I can understand these people too. How could you care about such poorly written characters? Yay, we can watch Batman together, Appa. Yes, but your son is going to forget Tamil at this rate. Did you know his friends call him Kevin? What's wrong with that? Speaking Tamil, da. Well, what's wrong with that? It's only one letter that's different anyways. That's why we picked it, or names tell stories. We thought it'd be easy on you growing up here. Your father and I spent months agonizing over so many other names. If it's only one letter different, why is it so hard for your friends to say it? And Kevin means beautiful. It's such a lovely name and it suits you so well. I don't want to be beautiful. I just want to be Kevin. And here's where I'm going to stop playing the game, and I'm going to wrap this video up. This is it. I can't agree more with Kevin. I sympathize, empathize. I like Kevin. I don't even really care for Kevin. So let's just recap what's gone on here. So we have a couple who are native to the country of India. It appears that they're both university educated. Him with a bachelor's in science, and if she was a successful teacher over there, she probably had a university degree in either teaching or in like language arts, something. They get married for love. He has a dream to go to Canada and do God knows what, because he's only ever been a writer in India, even with his bachelor's of physics, if it's real. They go to Canada. They can only secure one part-time job each, and neither of them speak English to a degree that they can understand anybody to actually work in this country of Canada. They're getting ready to go home to India, and they find out that she's pregnant and they're going to have an unexpected child. They decide that's a reason for them to stay in Canada, where they're already failing on every level and barely making ends meet. 6 years have passed. The child is now approximately 5 years old. She appears to probably not be working because she still can't speak any English hardly. Her husband is no better and still can't communicate with a prospective job employer on the phone, not because he can't hear, but because he can't understand English. If he has a university degree, you think he would have taken some courses in English while he's in Canada in 6 years. They've created an island in this tiny apartment that they can barely afford in Canada of Tamil. And they expect Kevin to sacrifice the entire world to live in this tiny place and to follow their footsteps and to live their culture. Why would he want to be Kevin? They wanted to give him everything, according to Pavelan, his father. What if another kid has something that our kid doesn't have? He'll resent us. Yeah. At this point, he'll resent not being Kevin. This is the world you brought him into. These are the experiences that he's going to gravitate toward, not this dysfunctional, underachieving family unit that the writers have created. So they gave Venba and Pavelan interesting backstories. They gave them educations. They gave them successful jobs in their home country. And then they just put them in absolute failure after failure in a foreign country where they were always going to be set up to fail. Who just leaves their home country with some figment of a dream that I couldn't understand? I mean, If they had stuff at home, why would they leave to pursue his mythical dream? I mean, he seems to remind me of like a gambler, but a gambler who has $1 million who's chasing $100 lottery ticket. If I spend enough, I could make $100 in Canada rather than be a millionaire in India. What the hell is going on here with the writing? It's the only thing that makes sense going forward, and I don't care anymore because I don't care about these characters. I don't want them to succeed anymore. I want them to fail. I don't care about Kevin or Kevin even, because the writing is so the only thing that would make sense is if they did in the future what they should have done and what they would have known to have done. If you're going to uproot your life where you have education and work experience, and you're going to go to another place, you use those foundations that you've spent your life building to bridge a path to success. He should be writing in Canada if that's all he's ever done and all he knows. She should be teaching cooking or opening up a Indian-themed restaurant. And maybe she is teaching cooking, but at a part-time school, no, she would have to open up her own. She'd have to be an entrepreneur and be her own boss to where she can control her inability to speak the native language rather than a part-timer. What is she teaching over there if she can't even speak English at all to understand I don't want to? If I'm remembering the phrase correctly that Kevin used in English. So it's not easy to write. I understand. It's not easy to create a video game. But video games that tell stories have to be true to the characters and to their backstories and to how those characters would attempt to resolve conflict and who would attempt to overcome obstacles and how they would react in situations. And these characters are antithetical to all of that. They're not likable. They display some of the worst tendencies, some of the worst tropes and stereotypes of male-female relationships, husbands and wives. This is nothing I'm saying is even tangentially related to ethnicity or to culture or any of that. This is just like basic writing 101 that you've got to give the reader, or if it were a TV, a show, a movie, a book, any of this. It doesn't matter that it's a video game. When you're doing these narratives, when you're doing these novella-type stories, there is a format. And when you run contrary to it, you risk everything. And I guess you could have success in breaking the mold, but this is not how you do it by any stretch of the imagination. There's no redemption story here for me. I don't care if these people redeem themselves because it's too unrealistic to begin with. The whole story, the premise. But that's my thoughts. What's yours?